The Storm Between Us by Vosotros, narrated by Renzi. Chapter 4. Charm. I looked pathetic. I sighed as I stood along the hallway, waiting for Michael's class to end. Ever since that incident in the hospital, I couldn't help but think if I should talk to him again. However, after pondering about it for a few nights, I realized that Kat was right. I must tell Michael the reason for our breakup, because if I wouldn't do that, I would forever carry the burden in my heart. I would have a lot of what ifs and what could have happened. I didn't want any of that. I should talk to Michael, even if it was hard. And besides, I want to know how he moved on from me. How come he's claiming that he's over our relationship? Is he lying? Or am I just that easy to forget? I looked at my watch as I swallowed the lump in my throat. There were still 15 minutes left before the class ended. The Humanities building, an old white three-story building right at the heart of the university, was already full of students waiting for their next classes. If only Michael replied to my text. It had been 2 days since I sent him a message, but I hadn't received any word from him. I didn't know if he was intentionally avoiding me or if he already changed his number. But it didn't matter because I came here to settle things. I had rehearsed this a million times in my head. I would call out his name and ask if we could talk in private. That's simple. But despite coming here prepared, my hands were still cold and clammy. And it was not helping that I was waiting outside of the classroom where Michael and I first met. We were classmates in one of my first general subjects at the university, but I didn't notice him in the beginning of the semester. I was sitting in front row while he was sitting at the back, and not to mention that Michael was not the type of man that I would like. My crushes used to be the strong and assertive guys, those that would stand out in a crowd, so I never expected that I would fall for him. However, it all changed when on one project we got paired. That was the first time I noticed him, and I found him charming. He was polite, sincere, and honest, and it seemed that he didn't have the machismo that most guys flaunted at every encounter. However, it was not his attitude which became our problem. It was mine. Being the perfectionist that I was not satisfied with his suggestions. We were barely moving with our projects because we couldn't come up with answers we could both agree on. The deadline was looming, and I became grumpy and bossy. But this was when I began to see Michael in a different light. Instead of leaving me behind, he apologized to me because he felt that he was of no use to our partnership. Then he thought of an idea. He might not be able to help me in coming up with the perfect answer, but he could help me feel better. He took me to his favorite place. At first, I was hesitant because I felt that it would be inappropriate for just the two of us to go somewhere private. But then he pointed out where we were going, and it was the roof deck of the tallest building on the campus. Students were not allowed to go there for safety purposes, since there were still parts which were unfenced, and the gate leading to the roof deck was always locked. But for some reason, Michael had a duplicate of the key. It made me wonder what the view would look like from up there, so I agreed. We went there, and when we reached the top, I was awestruck. Although the view could be seen from the windows of the lower floors, nothing beat the feeling when one was on the rooftop. I savored the wind rushing against my face, as well as the unhindered view of the entire town and the university. It was a refreshing experience. With the view of the setting sun, my mind became clear. That was also the reason why Michael used to go up there. Whenever he felt lost, he would just visit the roof deck and everything would fall in its proper place. Because of what happened, we finished the project. It wasn't perfect, but I felt satisfied with it. I gained a new friend with Michael, and from there, our relationship grew until he courted me, and I answered yes. Our meeting wasn't anything magical or out of the ordinary, but I felt that it was meant to be. But everything had changed. Just the thought of talking to him was already making me flinch. To ease my senses, I tried to focus on the huge bulletin board in front of me. It was filled with announcements from club orientation to dormitory vacancies. But before I could even muster my courage, I heard footsteps coming out of the room. My heart jumped out of my throat. Immediately, the hall was filled with chatter and noise. I looked at the people going out, but Michael was nowhere to be found. As I was tiptoeing to check all the students, I heard someone call out my name. "Hey, Charm!" Jake greeted as he came out of the class. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Um, I was hoping if I could talk to Michael, I said, still looking behind Jake for signs of Michael. I texted him a couple of days ago, but he didn't respond. "Oh, I see, but Michael skipped our last subject today. He wasn't feeling well." "Not feeling well?" Jake nodded. "Yup, that's what he said, but honestly, I don't think he's really sick." "What do you mean?" I asked. "These past couple of days, I couldn't help but notice that he wasn't listening in class," Jake sighed. "I called him out a few times, but he would just brush me off. It would have been okay if it was the only problem, but his quizzes were barely making the passing mark, and I don't know why. But he seemed more unmotivated these days." "Is it because he's attending gatherings again?" That was the only reason I could think of. Jake shrugged. "I don't know, but it seemed to lie low even from that. I heard that he even refused some of our classmates who were asking him to sell their secondhand items." That was weird. In the past, Michael would have grabbed the opportunity to earn profit. I couldn't help but feel worried. First, he passed out at the cafe, and now he was not doing well both in academic and in his stint. What's happening to Michael? "Anyway," Jake said, picking up the conversation, "if you still want to talk to Michael, you might find him with Kuya Danny. Michael has been hanging out in his house this past few days." That's it for chapter 4. Thank you all for listening. Shout out to Renzo Toil and Amanda Zoloyar. Comment, like, and subscribe to get more videos like this, and see you again on our next video.